It is now the middle of September, believe it or not. And we are now back from IAA in Munich, where we attended the show for literally one day. We made 6 or 7 videos at the event, and they are now being edited down for publication in the coming weeks. We have a couple of car reviews that are already in the can that are waiting official editing and pre-publishing preparedness. And so today I figured it would be good to give you a bit of a filler video. I'm going to be honest, it's a filler video, but there's also been some stuff going on that I feel kind of obliged to talk about. So today we're going to look at where we're at with the Gordon-Bloomfield fleet. I'm going to talk to you about some unpleasantness in our comment section and hopefully give you a bit of a sneak peek at some of the projects coming down the line. Now we are back in the US. We are busy editing and preparing videos from IAA. They're not quite ready to go yet. As I hinted in 10 this past weekend, we were guests of CATL. CATL agreed to reimburse our travel costs and our hotel bill while we were there. However, we are retaining all editorial impartiality, and while you should see the first of those videos in a few days' time, we agreed with CATL that while we will retain all editorial control over the final video, we are allowing the engineering team at CATL the chance to fact check my reporting to make sure that I don't, get a fact or figure wrong in my reporting. So we have a couple of videos that need to be given a fact check by the team at CATL before they go live. I should reiterate though, we weren't told what to say. We weren't told what we couldn't say. And much like our video when we went to the UK a couple of years ago, and we were guests of Fortescue there, same kind of rule applies. They just wanted to check the technical accuracy of our reporting. And that is about as far as we ever let a company go. Normally it's like we can say what we want to say. If it's subjective, we're allowed to say what we want to say. If it's technical reporting, we generally let a company technically check our video to make sure that we are representing the facts properly. So I just wanted to get that off my chest. And that is hopefully the first of those videos will be dropping a little bit later this week. I want to kind of reiterate that it is hard as a YouTube channel that tries to be as journalistic as possible to negotiate with companies when they invite us to events. It can be hard sometimes going, no, we're journalists, we are just going to report the facts and we're not going to give you any editorial control. CATL, to its credit, agreed to those terms. We've had other companies in the past who have not agreed to those terms. So I'm very grateful that CATL were able to accommodate our request and enabled us to be as free with our reporting as we have been. Let's talk about the bike and some of the things that we've been doing, and then I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what's been going on the channel. Now, as you can see, the bike, my Vectrix VX1, is still stuck on my porch, and that is because while the batteries are ready to go in, this board is still not ready yet. So this is the main controller board. This is the brains of the bike. And if I zoom in on the board here, you'll see there's some very bad fresh soldering where I've paired up fuses on this controller board. Those fuses have been paired up because when you add lithium-ion batteries, you increase the total bike voltage a little bit, and you also add some tweaks to the way the bike behaves, which increases the maximum power that it produces and you can sometimes blow the original fuses, which, let's face it, the original fuses in this were like 20 plus years old. I'm going to put this down and kind of show you here that these fuses are the original fuses from the bike, and you can see how they kind of compare to these fuses here, which are the new fuses. They're rated exactly the same. In fact, these are actually better rated than these ones. It shows just how much power has changed, how much power electronics have changed in the last few years. The other thing I need to do is I need to make these, and I keep saying I need to make them. I've been having some trouble setting up the modeling for that. I'm still learning, you know, with the Carvera Air, and still trying to make that modeling work until I actually get that done and I figure out how I'm going to electroplate it to make sure that the brass is properly protected. It's still going to be something of a job. Why am I using brass? Because brass is going to conduct the heat a little bit better and is going to accommodate the higher currents. I could use other materials. I could just keep with what we've got here. But for now, that seems to be the best way forwards. I am itching to get this bike back on the road. I have had some serious jonesing for bike time in the last couple of weeks. And obviously we're now heading very much into autumn, and following that we'll kind of lose the ability to have nice long rides in the middle of the summer. So my hope is that I can still get this running before the end of the year. I had set myself a goal of riding it up Mount Hood by Labor Day, so the beginning of September, because of some of the challenges that we're experiencing here and because of exterior events. It's not happened. This year has been much more stressful for us than any of us had planned. And so let's now go and talk about the car and the truck and some of the things we're doing there. And I'll also talk to you about what's been going on in our comments section. Lots of people have been asking how the Chevrolet Bolt with a B has been doing, and well, it's doing just fine. As you can see, it's still reasonably tidy under here. Looks like we may have had a squirrel come under here at some point. Squirrels like to come in here. If you have a Bolt, it's generally a good idea to come in and clean this out every so often. You can see someone's been in here eating sunflower seeds. But the struts that I installed earlier this year, they're still doing fantastically well. And I've been thinking about some of the things that I might want to do with the Bolt long term. Now, my wife has been saying that she would quite like to have some kind of illumination on the charge port, and there is an aftermarket add-on that you can buy from Chevrolet that allows you to have lighting on the charge port. However, the one that you can buy from Chevrolet is a bit limited in its function, and I've been toying with the idea of developing something with an ESP32 so I can actually get it to represent the state of charge of the vehicle's battery pack in terms of its rings. Obviously that's something that Ford does with its EVs, the F-150 Lightning and also the Mustang Mach-E. I don't know if it does it with its European EVs, but I'd quite like to get like a lighted ring around here that opens when you open the charge port door. It lights up, and then, you know, later on when you want to know how much state of charge you have, it will represent that by illuminating a certain percentage, or perhaps by going from a colder temperature like a blue to a green. Sorry, a fly just landed on my finger. We've got lots of wasps here. It's wasp season here up in the foothills of the Coast Range, and so yeah, shocked myself a little bit there. Now, I don't know if the tailgate's going to open. No, it's not. But one of the things I'd like to do with the tailgate also is contemplating, and I know this is completely overkill, but contemplating doing a lift gate for the Bolt. Now, you can get a kit. They're not very easy to get hold of these days, but with any luck, I would quite like to add one, if only because, and you can see here, we've got a lot of grass here and we've got a lot of kind of leaves and all that kind of stuff. We don't have a garage. And we regularly have to lift things into the house from the back of the car, and having the ability to automatically open the tailgate, either using a foot sensor or something else, is going to be beneficial, I think. So that's something I'd like to do. And you will note here that that's something that this F-150 Lightning does not have either. So I would love to be able to do that and have a foot sensor open this as long as you had the key in your pocket. And that's something I'm actually, I'm in the very early stages of planning. Again, there is a universal kit you can buy online. And I think as long as I figure out the right place to tie into behind the dash, I think I can do that. I think I can actually make a custom foot sensor that will make it possible for me to install some kind of wireless foot control. Now, you might have noticed I picked up some 3D printed parts. Let's talk about those and what we have got. So the first one here is a 3D printed component that I grabbed offline. Why is this an important 3D print? Well, it's designed, let me show you, it's designed to go over your charge door, and with any luck, it will make it easier, whoops, if I do it the right way around, in the winter when it's snowy. The idea is that this fits on here like so. When the charge port door is open, if I can actually get it to fit on properly, there you go, it goes on here. And in the winter, that will mean that when you plug this in, it will stop this from getting all iced up, and hopefully it will make it easier for you to detach the truck from the charging station in bad weather. Now, this one is designed for the F-150. I will link to the original design online if I can find it again. This is just printed in some high temperature filament. I think it's ABS glass fiber, but as you can see, it does still give me access to the charge port door, and it means that we don't end up with leaves or critters or other stuff in. And if you go down here, you can still see that it shows just there. Now, the other one, you either know what this is or you don't, and that requires access to the inside of our truck. The F-150 Lightning has a very special, fancy gear lever. It has the ability to fold down, and then that gives you access to that workspace. Looks like I have a bit of, what is that? It's a bit of onion. You can have access to this work table. The problem is that this particular system with the automatic lift up, that gear shifter is notorious, and it's been failing at a really crazily high rate. And Ford, we're not at the point yet where Ford is issuing an official recall, but what a lot of people are now doing in the F-150 Lightning community is replacing that gear shifter with one of these, and in the smaller one of those holes, fitting a rotary gear shifter from an early Ford Mustang Mach-E, which is also the same as the early rotary gear shifters used for the Ford Escape and a bunch of other cars. Funnily enough, the connector on the gear shifter module for the truck is pin compatible and functionally compatible with the rotary gear shifter. And so what we're going to do is this is going to go in here like, make sure I do it the right way around. So this is going to go in here like that. This is printed in, again, I think this is an ABS with glass fiber. I can't remember which filament I used, but it looks phenomenal. I printed this on my Bamboo X1C. And so the gear shifter will go in here. There's another fly, get off fly. The gear shifter will go on here, and then I'll have an additional cup holder. And that's going to make it so much easier to drive the truck. Also, I'm going to get an extra cup holder, and also it means when the truck is being driven, I will be able to fold down the table which will make it so much nicer, because if I have a passenger who's, traveling with me, they can also make use of that table if they want to put like a laptop, or they want to eat something. It gives them access to that table, and that should be pretty fun. Now, before I get to the final thing, sorry, I ducked out of the sunlight there. Before I get to the final thing, let's talk about comments. So I want to start by saying that Transport Evolved is very much supportive of free speech. In a democracy, it's important to be able to make your voice be heard. It's important to highlight when things are not working. It's important to be able to rally support for a cause you believe in, all of that good stuff. And I certainly don't think that people should be censored for doing things that, for example, in the US, the Constitution supports. However, and any number of philosophy and students will be able to talk about this more eloquently than I can. When you say it is okay to say anything, you actually then start to reduce the rights of certain groups of people. And while I support your ability to say, I think the president is a silly sausage, or I think that Nikki Gordon-Bloomfield doesn't know what she's talking about, that's okay. That's your right to do that, right? What it's not your right to do is to make threats against other people, threats about their lives, threats about their families, threats about who they are, to make threats that, were they followed through, would make it difficult for that person to exist. That is not okay. That kind of goes all the way around the free speech circle and comes back on itself to a point where you are imposing your will on someone else. You are saying, I don't want you to have the right to exist because you are against these things, or I believe that who you are as a person is against my religion or my belief set or whatever. And my belief set is more important than yours. In the last couple of weeks, we have seen an unprecedented rise in hate. And every time I have to say this, I keep going, hey, maybe this is the last time. But last week, the same day that Charlie Kirk was shot and killed, and I want to reiterate here, nobody should be shot and killed. Nobody. Nobody should face gun violence. Gun violence is abhorrent. I support stricter gun controls. I am not anti-gun. I just think that people should have weapons for specific purposes, and going out and killing other people is not a specific purpose that should be allowed. Like, if you need it for protection because you live in the middle of nowhere and there are large animals like bears, fine. If you want to be a sports person and go to target practice, fine. Do that. You do not need a semi-automatic rifle, and you definitely do not need a semi-automatic rifle in much of the world. So immediately after that tragic accident, which I think we should mourn the taking of a life, even though I feel that Charlie Kirk's posthumous presentation by a lot of people around the world isn't actually accurate to who he was in life. And I think that's for a different video, and that's definitely not in the EV world. I do want to say that since his murder, there's been a rise in anti-LGBTQ hate speech fueled by people making false allegations, tying the shooter to the queer community, to the furry community, to all of these other minorities. And now we have the President of the United States here. It's Monday when I'm filming this. This is probably going to go out on Tuesday. The President has ramped up rather than tried to calm the rhetoric. And, you know, I know a lot of Republican lawmakers are calling for some version of civil war or some version of retribution for the people that they view as responsible for this all, which is they believe are Democrats, even though the actual facts of the matter don't back that up. So all of that's been happening in the background, and the day of the assassination, we got, I think it was the second or the third time, someone has posted, name of town is a really nice place to be this time of year. And they made that reference in relation to the town that I am closest to. I do not live in that town. I do not my postal address is in that town, but I don't live in that town. I have noticed, we have security cameras, right? I'm just going to be honest here. We have security cameras that cover the property, and I have started to notice some unusual vehicle behavior going past my house. And when somebody made that comment, and one of our well-known trolls who has been calling for our arrest and unaliving at the hands of the Department of Justice and the FBI and basically the current White House regime, when those two things come together, I'm like, you know, I don't need to deal with this. And that is not something that I am happy with. It causes a lot of stress, it causes a lot of frustration, and it causes a lot of anxiety. It causes a lot of nightmares, it causes a lot of trauma. And my job is to talk to you about the world of cleaner, greener, safer and smarter transportation. My job is to talk to you about the intersection of politics and energy and environment and vehicles and all of that good stuff, which is why I do sometimes touch on politics and policies. It's impossible to talk about this particular segment without talking about those other things. I acknowledge that, but it doesn't give other people the right to threaten my life and the lives of people I love, or to try and dox me publicly. That's not okay. So we have turned off comments yet again. I think they're going to stay off for good this time. If you want to talk to us, you can do so through Discord. You can do so through that very loud school bus going up the road. You can talk to us on Discord. You can talk to us on Mastodon. You can talk to us on Blue Sky. You can also leave comments on our YouTube, our WordPress page, the official Transport Evolved website. Those comments are being carefully moderated in a way that YouTube makes difficult. And while we did have ban lists on YouTube, a certain troll kept coming back. They kept getting unbanned and rejoining. And just today, before I came out here to film this, said troll appeared in a comment on a video that they should not have had the right to comment on, as in comments are turned off on the video and yet somehow they still managed to comment, which leads me to believe either they found a back door or they are so desperate for attention they just cannot leave us alone. Either way, I don't want to have to deal with that, right? There's enough stresses in my life and my team's life for us to not have to deal with people threatening our lives. That is not why I set up Transport Evolved. It is definitely not why I want Transport Evolved to continue. And if we want Transport Evolved to continue, we need to find alternative ways of making content and having civil discourse. And if that means turning off YouTube's comments, well, that means turning off YouTube's comments. Before I get to this, because I've got something cool to share here, I also want to let you know that we are doing well in our Patreon Autumn Drive. Just as a reminder, if you want to join Patreon, you want to support us, and you sign up to Patreon either this month or in October, you will automatically get a cool piece of new art, digital art that Erin is working on. And you'll also help us remain 100% independent. Right now, we're working on increasing our income by a fairly substantial amount. And so far, the number of people signing up means we are just below our target, but not far off it. So if you've been watching and waiting, now is the time to sign up. That would be really, really great. All right, let's talk about more fun things. Let's talk about this. So this is the Ford Charge Station Pro. As you know, I have been on quite an adventure with that. So the Ford Charge Station Pro is designed to work with the F-150, and it allows the F-150 Lightning, if it is paired with this lovely thing down here, the home integration system, it allows it to run your house or power your house in the event of a power cut. Since the last vehicle update I gave you, we have actually used this system in anger a couple of times. Once, it was a very short power cut and we got it running and then the power came straight back on. And one day we actually had a power cut during the morning rush hour. A tree had fallen and taken down our power line near our house. And I think we were running off the truck for about 7 hours after, and this was after we had the power line replaced. And so it's been very reliable, and it's now, this year, it's been much more reliable than it had been at any point in history. And I'm very happy with that. But also, I have been working on my Local-fcsp integration for Home Assistant. Now, if you don't know, Home Assistant is a home automation system that allows you to monitor and control various things within your home. And this has a connection to the internet, right? So thanks to Eric Pullen, I think his name is, who is another F-150 Lightning owner who's also a bit of a nerd. There's a FCSP, Ford Charge Station Pro API library, which I have linked to and has enabled me to build my own home integration system plugin, I guess, for the Ford Charge Station Pro. And it does cool things. So it tells you whether the charging station is plugged in, whether it's charging, whether it's transferring power. And now, as of yesterday, there's a new function, and it will reliably detect if there's a power cut, which allows you to then trigger other things within the home. And it also has a new online sensor. So I pushed the new version of that software yesterday. I think it's version 0.3.2, if memory serves correctly. If I've got the versioning wrong, I apologize. But I will link to that in the down below in the show notes. And as opposed to the previous version, which just added the sensors willy-nilly, the new version, which took like 3 days of me bashing my head against a metaphorical brick wall, the new version actually detects whether there's a home integration system attached or not. And if there isn't, it doesn't create any of the sensors that unit produces. Instead, it just produces a sensor for this. It doesn't produce the power cut sensor, because obviously if there's no home integration system attached, you don't need to know if there's a power cut. Or maybe you do. Maybe I'll add a flag so you can decide. Now I'm thinking about it. But it's now much more automated than it's ever been. And please download it and test it out, because I would love to know your thoughts. So now you know how to comment, now you know what's going on, now you know what's going on with all the vehicles, you know what's happening with all the other stuff. Make sure you keep your eyes peeled, hit subscribe, and there's some cool stuff from IAA coming very, very soon. Thanks for joining me today, and if you've got thoughts, make sure you leave them in our Discord chat room, on our Patreon page, down below, on our blog, or you can reach out to us on Mastodon or Blue Sky. Thanks to the amazing list of people scrolling by on your screen right now. They are part of the massive community of supporters who make this channel possible, helping us through Patreon and YouTube, covering our bills, paying our team, and helping us to remain 100% independent. If you'd like to join them and see your name listed here, just follow the link below. We've got options available across a wide range of different price points, from just $1.50 US a month. A massive welcome to our newest supporters: M. Wessy, Les Magnar, MX Flounder, NYTMR, Thrill Nelly, Hernan Giraldo, Christopher Bloodworth, Eric Rouvier, Ronnie E. Bickers Jr., Brett Mason, George Piney, Mega XLR, Robert Coghill, Peter Bodica, Gary Wood, Dessa Bird Traveller, Tim van der Loeng, Mike Clark, Kyle Olin, Rob Hutchinson, Tony Ladig, Chris Nichols, Kempus, Adrian Atwater, Doug Lloyd, Mitch Rasner, and Brad. To join the list and get your shout out, become a paid Patreon member for your moment of fame, and you can even gift membership to someone else. If you'd like to support us with a one-off donation, you'll find links below to make Ko-fi and Bitcoin donations, and we even have an old-fashioned PO box you can reach us at. Address on our website. You'll also find links to our swag store, and if you're someone who has to shop on Amazon, please consider using our affiliate link so we get the commission, not Jeff Bezos. So we can continue to focus on making our content even better and reduce burnouts, we are being a little freer with our release days, but plan on dropping new content every Tuesday, Thursday and Saturday on our main channel, plus something on Sunday over on TE Take 2. If you want more, the mighty algorithm that hates us thinks you should be watching this video, but we think this one is one you should also check out. Be awesome, be kind, be intentional, and don't forget to resist. Keep evolving.